Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Preeti from Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering from ECE department. Today I am going to discuss about one of the topic in Principles of Communication System, and the subject code is BEC 402. Today I am going to discuss about the topic called Amplitude Modulation Concepts, that is AM concepts. Introduction to amplitude modulation. Amplitude modulation is a technique used in telecommunications to encode information onto a signal by varying its amplitude. The message signal carries the information to be transmitted, while the carrier signal provides the medium for transmission. The process of amplitude modulation involves combining the message signal with the carrier signal to create the modulated signal. And components of amplitude modulation. The message signal is the information signal that modulates the carrier signal. The carrier signal is the high frequency signal that carries the modulated information. The modulated signal is the output signal that contains the combined information from the message and carrier signal. As you observe in the waveforms of the diagram, the first one is the message signal. The second one is carrier signal, which is get modulated. Here the amplitude gets modulated. Then mathematical representation of amplitude modulation. The modulated signal can be expressed as AC of 1 plus m of t cos 2 pi into fc into t, where AC is the carrier amplitude, m of t is the message signal, and fc is the carrier frequency. The modulated signal consists of the carrier signal with the message signal added to it. The modulation index m represents the extent to which the message signal modifies the carrier signal. Then advantages of amplitude modulation. Amplitude modulation is simple and cost effective to implement. It allows for the simultaneous transmission of multiple signals over different carrier frequencies. Amplitude modulation provides better signal quality compared to other modulation techniques in certain applications. Then disadvantages of amplitude modulation. Amplitude modulation is susceptible to noise and interference. It is less efficient in terms of power consumption compared to other modulation techniques. Amplitude modulation has a limited bandwidth which can resist the amount of information that can be transmitted. Then disadvantages. It is susceptible to noise because the states are closer together, so that a lower level of noise is needed to move the signal to a different decision point. When using QAM that contains an amplitude component, linearity must be maintained. Unfortunately, linear amplifiers are less efficient and consume more power, and this makes them less attractive for mobile applications. Then requires coherent demodulation with exact phase and frequency. Demodulation of amplitude modulation. Demodulation is the process of extracting the original message signal from the modulated signal. Envelope detection is a common demodulation technique used in amplitude modulation. The modulated signal is the recovered message signal after processing the modulated signal. Then applications of amplitude modulation. Amplitude modulation is used in broadcast radio and television transmission. It is also utilized in two-way radio communication system. Amplitude modulation is commonly employed in radar system for target detection and tracking. Amplitude modulation, here the message signal gets modulated, then the modulated signal is carried through a carrier signal to reach the destination point. Comparison of amplitude modulation with other modulation techniques. Amplitude modulation is simpler than frequency modulation than phase modulation. It has higher bandwidth efficiency compared to frequency modulation. Amplitude modulation is more susceptible to noise compared to frequency modulation. Amplitude of a carrier is varied in accordance with the amplitude of modulating signal, keeping frequency and phase constant in amplitude modulation. The number of sidebands in amplitude modulation are 2. The bandwidth formula is given by 2 fm, 2 into fm, that is message frequency of message signal. Then practical example of amplitude modulation. In an amplitude modulation radio transmission, the message signal, which can be called audio, is modulated onto the carrier signal for broadcasting. The receiver demodulates the amplitude modulated signal to recover the original audio signal for playback. The output signal heard by the listener in the demodulated audio. Then the conclusion. Amplitude modulation is a fundamental modulation technique used in various communication systems. Understanding the concepts of message and carrier signal modulated is essential for effective transmission and reception of information. By modulating information onto a carrier signal, amplitude modulation enables efficient communication over a long period of over long distances. By this, we can say that amplitude modulation is a process of modulating the message signal in accordance with the carrier signal to reach the destination point. Modulation is used in telecommunication systems, radio systems, and FMs, etc. The signal get modulated. The signal is more strengthened and it can reach to the more number of people or more spaces. That's all. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe my video. Thank you.